Well, good morning and welcome to my garden. I'm David Wilson here for Overdivest Nurseries on an early Sunday morning in early summer. In the neighbourhood, I think most of my neighbours are still snoozing in their bed, but I'm out here in my garden at one of my favourite times of the day, and that's early in the morning when everything is nice and fresh and colourful. Temperatures are cool and it's quiet and birds are singing, and already a few pollinators are starting to come and visit some of the plants. And today I want to show you a perennial that I think should be in everybody's garden because it's so reliable, easy to grow. It has so much going for it that quite literally everybody should have this in their garden. And of course, to those of you that are experienced gardeners, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that these are the Catmints, or Nepetas as they're known botanically. And the reason that I want to show you this is that I believe this to be the perfect perennial for most gardens. It's plenty hardy right throughout our whole region. It starts flowering in the earlier part of the summer and literally keeps going through all the way into the fall. And what I love about it is that they're long-lived and very easy to look after, needing hardly any maintenance at all. This here is a group of a variety called Blue Wonder, and I'm not kidding you that these plants have been here for over 20 years. Now there's a perennial if there ever is one, and during that time they have received no treatment. And in fact, because these are so reliable and easy to grow, they do well in an average garden soil. There's one species that likes to grow in dampish, wet, heavier soils, but most of the ones that you're going to find at our partnering garden centres like to be in a well-drained position. So as long as you have an average free draining soil and you plant them, water them well until they get established, after that you literally should be able to have these in your garden for a lifetime. Now there's real value. And what's more, they have this kind of felty aromatic foliage, which when you brush against it, if you're walking through and you brush against it, or you're trimming them back or something, will release into the air. But also many of them have a kind of silvery sheen that helps to soften down the landscape. And recently I was on a visit back to the UK, and I visited a garden called Hestercombe in Somerset that it was 50 years ago that I was working on a restoration project there. And what's more, it was interesting how in that garden they use a lot of Nepetas, designed by the famous English gardener Gertrude Jekyll, who loved to have soft colours and silvery foliage. And that's what's great about this plant, in that it is wonderful for softening down landscapes. So if you have a courtyard, an inner city garden, or a garden that's out in the countryside, and you've got rocks and stones, or like I have here, gravel or paving or patios, and you put these into containers, you see how they kind of billow out here and soften down the landscape. That's so wonderful about this plant. It's very valuable because of the contrasting foliage and this lovely soft purplish blue color that comes on several of the varieties. There are other shades as well. There's a white one and a kind of lilac pinkish colored one, but most of my favorites are ones with these lovely soft purplish blue tulip flowers. They call this bilabiate botanically, but when you look at the little flowers, you'll see that they have two lips at the bottom. And so if you look at them really close, they're beautiful, but when you look at it from a distance, they're wonderful to have this kind of spilling out habit, which of course is great if you've got a rockery or a wall, a raised wall where it can spill out over the side. Oh, and there's another couple of things I should mention. First is, when the plants are established in their planting positions, when you plant them first, give them some water, of course, until they get the roots out into the ground. After that, you'll find that they're really quite remarkably drought tolerant. In fact, these plants here in our garden are never watered at all. If you put down mulch, or in this case gravel like we have them here, you'll find that even in the driest period of the summertime, really we never have to worry about watering them. And the other thing that's important to mention too is that they don't need any extra nutrition. You don't need to fertilize or give them extra nutrition. We grow our plants in a special kind of compost that has a slow release fertilizer, so after you plant them out, it's still providing all the nutrient they need. And these types of plants grow in nature in places where they really don't need a whole lot of strong, nutritious soil. Average garden soil, like I mentioned earlier, is really all you need. So don't give them too much fertilizer, because then they're going to grow extra lush and might be a little too floppy. And another thing I like about them is that they're very easy to match with other plants in the gardens. This soft purplish blue goes wonderfully with white. Now over there is our white Deutzia, and it's just now almost finished, but you can see how the blue shade shows up so nice when it's associated with white. But I really love it when it's put with shades of pink. It's a wonderful plant for putting, as you see, as a kind of edger to the edges of beds and borders. Wonderful for underplanting with things like roses and ornamental shrubs too. This, if you have a pink rose, is absolutely magical when you pair the pink flowers with the blue of this lovely silvery tinted foliage as well. Really, really good for a wide variety of mixing with other plants in the garden, and you can always take a few of these and put them together in the garden centre and see how the colour works. That's one of the things that's really interesting for me in gardening. It's the artistry of how we take plants and put them together to create an effect. And here in this garden, in another couple of weeks' time, these pink flowering cone flowers, Echinacea magnus and some other varieties we have, will extend the colour through the summer months too. So put them together, try them out, see what you think, and of course match the colours according to your own taste. And when you visit our garden centres, you're likely to find there up to a dozen different varieties, ones that grow at different sizes. There are some that are close to just about a foot or so. So if you've got a small site somewhere, a tight spot, and you want to have all of this nice colour and texture, but don't have the room, then that's the one you'll want. There are some then that are bigger and different shades of blue, etc. And because these aromatic leaves are strongly scented, it means that things like deer and rabbits don't bother with them either. Now, getting back to maintenance, literally this will do without much care and attention. It's very easy to grow. What I do is during the summertime, we go in and we'll trim back some of the old growth here. You just take a pair of hedging shears or pruners and just snip off the tops and let it come through again from the bottom. You don't need to do that if you're busy and you're going away or something, but when you do it, you'll renew growth that'll come from the bottom. And if they ever do get a little tall and floppy, you can literally cut these back to the center of the ground, and in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, it will re-emerge. And if you look through our videos here, you will see that earlier this spring, I published a little YouTube short video showing you how I trim back the old growth, the dead tips that were left after the winter time and springtime. And you'll see that I was working on these very same plants. But literally, this is a really good, reliable, easy to grow, and as you see, really beautiful plant that pollinators love, that's easy and reliable and very rewarding to grow. Here I have it in a partially shaded site, though they'll do very well out in plenty of sunlight. In fact, they really do very well in a sunny site. But here on this site, in the morning, it's shady. The sun comes around, lights it all up so that you'll be able to see now how it looks in the middle of the day. And then in the afternoon, when the sun sets, then it falls into a little bit of shade too. So you've got lots of opportunity, sun or partial shade, and you'll find they'll do very well. Now, if you find this sort of thing interesting and helpful, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Perhaps like any of these videos that you find are worth noting, because then that lets other people know about them too. And of course, share them with your gardening friends too, because I'm sure they'll want to know about some of these little tips and ideas and suggestions just as much as ourselves. This is David Wilson. Enjoy your gardening. It's good for us, and it's good for our environment too.